I think I'm gonna die that day. Like, it's that severe. Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Lucy. I'm back today with another video, and today I'm finally going to be filming my long-awaited mental health video and kind of my journey with that. So I guess I'll start off with just like a timeline of events, like when I started developing these things and starting to realize them, and like even signs of it as I was a child, and then how I learned to cope with that and like some of the symptoms that I had. So ever since I was little, like from the day I was born, I was super, super small. And like some of that has to do with genetics, and other of that has to do with like an issue that I developed like right like when girls start hitting puberty. That's when they're supposed to get their growth spurt, but instead in that year I didn't grow at all. Like I was already like, this was 7th grade, I was like 4'7" or 4'8" probably, and I didn't grow like in between those 2 years at all. Didn't gain any weight. So I had to go to a special doctor called an endocrinologist for that, and there they did a bunch of blood work on me and got that back, and basically like thankfully I didn't have any like severe health issues, but I was put on like some pretty intense diets because of that. And so like I was on a strict protein diet that was meant to cause me to gain weight and to grow. And so like before 12 in the afternoon I would have to have consumed 30 to 40 grams of protein, which was like hard for me because I've always been like a really picky eater. So like I would have like protein shakes, protein bars. Like I never really liked eating meat that much. And so that like did start to like help me, and I eventually grew, and I hit a growth spurt and like started developing like a normal girl my age would. But I was always small, but because of the diet I was on and the intake of protein and how I was getting it, I was never chubby, but I like was not happy with my body. Like I've always been like skinny, like don't get me wrong, but even at like such a young age, like when I like as puberty was starting, I started developing all these like insecurities about my body because I saw things changing, and I didn't like that like maybe my stomach wasn't completely flat anymore. And so I would say probably from however old you are in 7th grade, what are you, 13, 12, 13, something like that. When I was that age, I think that's when like kind of some of my eating disorders started to develop. So like I'd always been super picky and like would never finish my plate, like never wanted anything. Like even as like a child, like I just had basically no appetite. And then when I started getting self-conscious about my body, it was easier for me to stop eating and watching what I was eating even more once my protein diet ended, so I could basically eat whatever I want, however much I wanted. And like my parents didn't really monitor it because for the majority, like I always have eaten breakfast because I take medicine in the morning, so that was an issue. But like at school 5 days a week I'm there, and so I would never need to eat lunch if I didn't want to, or I would be able to pick at things and choose what I want. And dinner, it's kind of a different story. I don't really remember what I did about that back then, but I remember sophomore year, so flash forward a couple years, like I wasn't fully like starving myself. I just like was really conscious about what I eat even at a young age. But then we get to sophomore year and I got really involved with cross country, and I like devoted a lot of my time to that, and I was really into like getting fit. And so I would work out like all the time, like even if I wasn't there, if I was injured, I would do like core stuff. Like I was obsessed with working out and burning calories and like calorie counting because of the sport that I chose. And don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing cross country at all. Like honestly, I love that sport. Like by far my favorite sport that I've ever participated in, regardless of the injuries that have ended my seasons multiple times. But anyway, so cross country season ended my sophomore year, and I realized like, you know, it was harder to get as much exercise in. The weather was changing, so it wasn't really nice outside. Holiday seasons were coming up, so there was like a bunch of food all around me. And I remember Thanksgiving was coming up, and I don't know, I just stopped eating. Like not like fully to like there was a day that would go by where I wouldn't eat at all, like not like that, but more or less like I would probably eat, like, I know some days when it'd be bad, I would eat 300 calories a day. And it was like the beginning of December, my sophomore year. I came home from school and I was just laying in bed. Like, I had no energy whatsoever. I felt pretty sick. I was just like on my laptop. Um, not really being productive. Everything kind of like felt fine. Like, I was tired, but like I didn't feel like overly like weird or different than I ever had before. My mom called me down for dinner and I got up and I just started shaking like uncontrollably, and like I was really dizzy, and I like went downstairs and I just started like crying because I just felt so sick and I didn't know what to do. And I just had like a breakdown at the dinner table. Like, my parents were like pouring food onto my plate because they could tell that like my blood sugar was super super low, and they like had like a big talk with me, like, Lucy, like, are you eating? And like I kind of broke down and I was like, no, I'm not. Like, and I like forced myself to eat, and of course I instantly felt better, like the shakiness went away, but I only ate green beans for dinner that day. Like, I didn't have any source of protein. I didn't have a carbohydrate. It was just a vegetable. But like it still made me feel better. So I thought that because of that I would be able to get by on just eating stuff like that. So like I would say like eating disorders that I have, like anorexia, I mean sometimes I would used to make myself puke, but that's not the point. So like just like my experience with eating disorders definitely fluctuates like a wavelength. So like I don't necessarily like every single day don't eat a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't eat a lot, and like still to this day, like I think that like I'm fine. Like, I don't really have like I don't I don't purposely starve myself, or not as frequently anymore as I used to. So we go in wavelengths, and for the rest of sophomore year I was like pretty fine, like, you know, still cautious, but nothing like over the top because my parents scared the crap out of me and like sat me down, like talks about like heart health and how it can affect my fertility rates, like when I want to become a mother when I'm older, and like all this stuff, like sat me down, like had this insane, like horrifying talk with me. So I started eating more, and then last year, my junior year, I decided that I wanted to be vegan because I wanted to be able to eat because I liked how eating made me feel. Well, I liked the energy it gave me. I didn't physically like how it made my body feel. I liked the how health wise it made me feel, if that makes sense. And so I was like, I'm gonna be vegan because I'm gonna only eat healthy and it's gonna help me with my running and all that stuff. And honestly, it did help me with my running. And in the beginning, I really did like being vegan and like eating super healthy. But as time went on, so I started in like the beginning of August, so like going into my junior year, like at the very beginning of cross country season, and I ended in March or April. So I was vegan for 9 months, 6 months, 9 months, I don't know, a good portion of time. And I realized that like the longer I was vegan and didn't eat any animal products whatsoever, the sicker I felt. Like, I didn't necessarily feel good just eating like the things that I would eat, and like you have to eat so much more because you're not getting like you're not getting all these nutrients from various things. Like, everything you're eating is pretty low calorie, especially if you're just focused on fruits and vegetables. So it made me feel sick, and so I started eating normal again, and being vegan definitely changed my body, like how it processes food for that long. Like, I realized I was getting like pretty skinny, but like I was fit because of I was exercising and I was healthy. Like, that was definitely the healthiest I'd ever been. So that stopped. I was eating pretty regularly, like normal, not gaining weight because my metabolism was really high. I was still active, and my body was so used to like being vegan that like I kind of had like time to like catch up, if that makes sense, on weight gain. And still didn't really ever gain weight. Like, I'm 17, I'm 5'1", and I've never reached 100 pounds in my life. Like, I would say my average weight for like just like my normal is 96 pounds, which is crazy. But anyways, so then summer going into my senior year, so this past summer came around, and I was so busy and like just like moving around, like never thinking about myself, that I literally never ate. Like, this summer I was like 87 pounds, which is crazy. Like, I didn't feel sick because I was always on the go. I was active. Like, my mind was always distracted instead of like focusing on like why do like if I don't feel good or not. Like, I was constantly not in my own head and just worrying about other people. And so because of that, I lost so much weight, and like I hated it. I hate to admit this, but I really liked my body and how it looked. And then school started, and like you kind of get back more in a routine of eating because like you wake up early in the morning, you eat, like you're up for more hours, so you're have more time to be hungry and to eat food, and you eat school lunches, like you don't skip those meals because you look forward to it, stuff like that. You're using your brain more, you're always on the go, so you're just hungrier and you like eat. So like this year I've definitely eaten way more regularly for sure, but like I'm still skinny. And I'm gonna get into some explanations for that now. With another issue that I struggle with. Alright, so I'm gonna combine my anxiety with my OCD and my depression. So basically, ever since I was really little, I like don't remember this, but like going through like the help and the treatment that I've gotten, like it's kind of like come up, like they're talking with my mom. So when I was little, I had super, super terrible separation anxiety from her. Like all the pictures that like we would have like out as a family at events, I would just be like wrapped around her legs. Like it's just a normal family picture, and then me, the literal oldest child in the family, wrapped around my mom's legs because I was just terrified of the public and terrified. I was like so shy, and just I never wanted to like be out where they would drag me. But of course, like when you're like 4 or 5, you don't have like the choice of where you go. You just go with your family. Like they're not gonna hire a babysitter every time they go out. You can't stay home alone. So like I was always forced out. But when you're that young, you don't understand what anxiety is. You don't understand why you feel the ways that you do. You think that that's normal. And honestly, it took me a really long time, like even this year, to realize and comprehend that some of the things I feel like they're not normal. Like the ways that I think, not normal. Like that is not how you should have to live your life. You shouldn't have to be constantly terrified of things. And so basically, that's all the result of an imbalance in brain chemicals. So basically, they call it like your danger button. So where you have the part of your brain that alerts for like danger, where it like relates back to the fight or flight or freeze philosophy, mine overreacts to things. So like little things, mine acts as if it's super dangerous, and I start to like freak out and tense up and panic about it because that's what anxiety does. And a lot of my anxiety is triggered from obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, because like I would get super fixated on things and routines and stuff like that, that it would give me anxiety if, say, they were broken. So like for example, so to this day I follow a very strict morning routine. Like I never change anything out of it. Like it literally brings me pain to change my routine. Like that sounds crazy, but it does because it freaks me out. And like, or like if I don't turn my light off in my room before I go to school and like leave for the morning and go downstairs, I think that I'm literally going to die if I don't turn my light out. And so that is another reason for my anxiety, because what the OCD influences it, or how the OCD influences it. So then, getting into my depression, I'm a really like attentive person. Like I like constantly being like involved in things, but like it kind of can be an issue because I like to be the center of attention. So when I feel like I'm not getting enough affection from either like my family or my friends, it kind of like sends me like in a downward spiral. But like not anymore because I've gotten help, which I'll get into. But it would send me into a downward spiral and kind of make me freeze, and like being so anxious all the time to the point where like, because like the eating disorders, the anxiety comes in waves. And being when I have like a bad anxiety week or a bad anxiety month, like it like really takes a toll on me and kind of leads me to becoming more depressed, and like your mind gets in those dark places. Like I was never suicidal, and like I said in one of my past videos, I would never commit suicide. Like I vouch myself, but I'm just gonna knock on wood, like I don't want to do that. But I have like those scary intrusive thoughts from like the combination of the anxiety and the depression, that literally like I would have dreams where I would see myself kill myself. See myself, yeah, see myself kill myself. Like it was terrifying. I would wake up screaming and crying like as a literal high schooler. Like that would happen to me, and I would have those nightmares. And I would have like visions like as I was closing my eyes at night, like just like scary intrusive thoughts coming in from like my mind being in such a dark place. And it was, you know, not a peaceful way of life. And because of those like the OCD causing the anxiety and the depression kind of piggybacking on that, that is the reason why I would develop those eating disorders, because my brain, the chemicals were never focused on being hungry. I never had like a hungry receptor, and I was really obsessed with my body and like with body, and I have like body dysmorphia and like really focused on how I looked. And so now that I've gotten help, because I've gone to therapy and I have several doctors for this, and I'm not ashamed to admit it because it is helpful, and you should never be ashamed to have to go to therapy because that's their job. Like, psychiatrists are there to help you, and they're honestly so helpful, and they're super good at making you feel comfortable in a situation where like you can be open and express it because they understand you 100%. So when I learned to accept that, and I got my new therapist, it's definitely helped me so much. And I'm also I'm on an antidepressant and anxiety medicine, which also helps with OCD, which is called Zoloft, and so they go in milligrams of 25, 50, 100, and 150. So 150 is the max, 25 the minimum. So I started on 25, and then when that started to wear down, my anxiety started getting super, super, super bad. And when I went to the doctor, they doubled my dosage, so I would take 2 of those, and it would lead me to 50 milligrams until I would get like a full 50 milligram pill, like, just for myself. So I would have the 50 milligram pill, and then that'd be fine. And then all of a sudden it would kind of happen again, where I started getting like more anxious and like freaked out, and like I couldn't really control my thoughts. But not as bad, because now that I'm on this medicine, it's almost guaranteed that I'm not gonna panic like I would. Like, the last time I panicked was supposed to be when I was still on 25, and it progresses. And so now that I'm on the 100, thankfully, knock on wood, I think the 100 so far is a really good match for me. And I know, like, it sounds like, oh well, that's crazy, like, second from the highest that you can be. Like, 150 is the highest. I'm like 50 milligrams away from being on the highest you can be at only 17 as a super tiny girl. And I think it has a lot to do with basically just the imbalances of the chemicals in my brains, and my brain how they fluctuate, and also my metabolism, so because it's super high. So I guess we should get into the point of why I made this video. So I made this video, one, so people can understand some of the things that I go through, because I know that I've definitely made it more public recently, and so this is just basically my elaboration. 2, ways that you can help yourself. So like I said, through therapy, definitely communication helps. You're not alone. Don't store it all inside of you. Talk it out with like your best friend, with your mom, whoever you feel the most comfortable or connected to. Like, talk it out, because once you get it out in the open, it honestly feels so good. I know it's like hard to admit these things about yourself, because you don't want to admit that you're low, and you don't want to sound like you're crazy, but you're not crazy. Like, literally, trust me, I understand. Sometimes I feel so crazy, like not turning my light off and thinking it's going to be the result of the end of my life that day, like, crazy. But, you know, you can't help that about yourself. And therapy always helps. And if you're comfortable with going on medication, definitely that can be a roller coaster of things, because you never know how the medication is going to react to you yourself, the dosage, the match. But once they get it right, it should definitely help things, if that's something you're willing to get involved with and be committed to, because you don't want to mess with your medicine. You don't want to forget or take it at random times. Like, it's really important to keep it down to a routine so you can get the best results of it, and it also doesn't mess with your brain chemicals in a negative way. And also, just so, like, I mean, when I'm on social media, you know, you try to look your best and portray your best self and like be all funny, but this is like kind of like the more inside version of me, and I felt like it was important to share, because I know I'm not the only one that feels like this, so I thought maybe this could be of some help to you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. This was definitely my deepest video thus far on my 2 weeks of YouTube, but yep, I felt that it was meaningful, and I wanted to talk it out because it makes me feel better. So, like I said, thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow my social medias. They're linked in the description below. And comment down any video suggestions or even questions you have. Like, reach out to me if you feel the same way. Like, I'm totally willing to talk to you, like help you get help or be your help, like anything like that. Bye. Try, can I speak up? Was it